Great, thank you so much for inviting me to debate this. I did see some of the votes there from the side, and it looks like I've maybe already won. No, I'm just joking. It could. So the thing is that in the next 7 minutes, I could tip this to the no side very quickly, I think. The question at hand here is, does the food industry need to change its approach to food safety management, taking into account cultural differences between boomers and millennials? And I'm going to argue the yes side, but I do want to note something that this question itself overlooks an important situation as it relates to food safety professionals in the workforce and those of us in this room, is that, and I take personal offense to this because it says nothing about Gen Xers. And yet again, we are the lost generation that no one seems to care about. So here's, being that I'm not a expert on millennials by any means, and I do actually consider myself, although then my timing puts me in the Gen X, I think I'm probably more generationalist, that I don't really fit into any, I hope. The situation here is that the empirical data on millennials and the workforce show that there are some very distinct differences. There are distinct differences in how millennials act and how they work and how they interact with individuals, both supervisors and those who report to them. And there are also some very different situations as it relates to technology. And I want to point out something that, although the question is about the generation, over time technology changes. If we were to ask this exact same question on whether the Gen Xers were to be treated differently than boomers or previous generations, I think the answer then would obviously be yes, because the world changes with generations. These are timeless questions that there's empirical data in looking at how individuals react in sociology, that things change over time. So we always have to adjust what we do. And it really has to do with, when it comes to technology, just the availability and use. The other piece around millennials is really a concept of a different value system from specifically boomers as well as Gen Xers. And that value system, I'll show you some data here in a moment, but that value system is about what's really important to millennials. And what's really important to millennials is really that society improves, and that there is a focus on collaboration. And again, this is not me just talking about it, this is from the data. And that work is not a central theme for millennials' lives. And I don't say that to be trite, it's not to say, in fact, the data shows that millennials work as much on a per week basis as previous generations, in fact more than boomers did at the same age, but they don't make work a focus of their life. And that matters when it comes to how we interact and how we make decisions on incentives and how we make decisions on changing behaviors essentially within the workforce. So the last thing I want to end with here is to show you an opportunity. So, I think that often within the generational discussion, it's very much doom and gloom. It's like millennials are lazy, it's a me first mentality. But I want to show you how over time generations are defined. And I point to you boomers in the room. And this is from some sociology work. These are generational theoretical descriptions from sociology that boomers have been much heralded, but failing to meet expectations, smug, self-absorbed, intellectually arrogant, socially mature, culturally wise, critical thinkers, spiritual, religious, having inner fervor, radical, controversial, nonconformist, self-confident, self-indulgent. There's a lot of wide variety there. This is different. This is different. But let's skip forward to millennials, and this is again from the sociology literature. Optimists, cooperative, team players, trusting, accepting of authority, rule followers, smart, civic-minded, special, sheltered, and I think I know what you're thinking, confident, achieving, pressured, and conventional. But if we look at the first few descriptors there, we have an opportunity. We have a generation that can be inspired, that values society, that we can help nudge food safety forward, not just because it's self-absorbed, but because it's the right thing to do. And so yes, the generation needs to be treated differently. And yeah, we have a lot of opportunity to move food safety forward because of the millennial generation. Boom.
So thank you, Ben. Now I get to have the fun of presenting the no side to the question. And I'll take you for a little journey back in time when Ben and I first discussed the opportunity that was presented to us in the form of this debate. We had a great conversation around the two elements to this question, food safety management and the generational differences. Ben did a great job walking us through that. Let me give you a couple of our thoughts as we started. We started with so what exactly is food safety management and what does it mean in the context of this debate? Right, we think about it as being preventive, we think about a toolkit, we think about the ability to make risk-based decisions and the reliance on everybody who works in food safety, in food manufacturing, agriculture, to be able to have that information and be able to make great decisions. So that's one element. Let's talk about the people. Ben did a great job talking through different cultural characteristics. I'm willing to bet if we look in this room, there may be some of you who identify with the silent or the traditional generation. I know there's some boomers out there. Our lost generation with Ben here, where are my Xers, right? And do we have some millennials in the room? Yep, yeah, we do. We have representatives from every generation as defined in every way that they're defined, because there is not one generation difference, or definition, excuse me. Do we have any people out here who don't identify with any of those generations? A survey online from the Pew Charitable Trust tells me that I'm 94% millennial. It's not the generation I'm assigned to. I'm not quite sure if that's really accurate, but it is. There's something we all have in common, though. People want to learn. People want to learn. They want to do things that add value. They want to have context and meaning in the work that they do. How many people in this audience came to IAFP in St. Louis because there's something you wanted to learn about? Right, yeah. That's regardless of the generation you identify with. We all want to learn. How many people have ever attended the most boring PowerPoint presentation ever? Yeah, we all have. Yeah. How many people have checked their phones since they've been in the room this afternoon? Yeah. We're distracted, right? We're distracted. We want the learning when we need it. We want it to be relevant to what we need to process and take away. And every one of us approaches that learning with a different set of an experience, a different lens that we filter that information. And as teachers, when we provide the facts as we know them, because we know what they mean and we know how we're going to interpret them, we put ourselves at risk of people not interpreting the same way we do because they come with a different set of experiences. How many people have delivered training and 2 days later somebody did the exact opposite of what was in that training? Did you just want to scream, right? Yeah, absolutely. So I would say it's not about generation differences, it's about how we provide the training and the experiential learning to the people that we work with, the people that we coach, and the people that we teach. How do we give them not just the facts and the what and the things that we lay out so nicely, but the how and the why? Taking it from that one-dimensional message or that marketing slogan to the richness and the texture that will allow people to make the decisions that you want them to make with the information they need, so that you're confident when you walk away, they're going to do what you need them to do every time. People want to learn. We need them to give the information, we need to give them the information, but we need to give that to them in a way that they can process it every time. So I have an example for you I'd like to share. It may or may not be fact-based. I may have taken some creative liberties, but I'll let you decide. This is Pops. Pops has 40 years experience in food preparation, and he prides himself on making healthy, nutritious meals for his family. He will proudly tell you he's never made anyone sick. He's an avid learner. He has positive intent, and you can frequently hear him say, "Never mess with raw chicken." All right? So we actively give Pops these food safety messages. And if I hit the right button, I might get to the next one. So we all have used this one, right? If it's going to be greater than 41 degrees Fahrenheit, don't leave it out more than 4 hours. Anybody use that? Yeah, well, so does Pops. Puts the frozen meat in the sunlight, 2 hours. Tells me, well, it's not even 41, it's still frozen, it's good. And I was listening to news the other night, and they said UV sterilizes everything. So he got the message, right? 41, no more than 4. But he didn't have the how or the why to make the decision that we wanted Pops to make. Don't ask me about the hatchet. That's another story for another day. Right? So we had another food safety conversation with Pops. Please, Pops, defrost the meat in the refrigerator. And we've used this line before. Some of us have used it in our training. Pops, positive intent, every time. So we have our very valuable truck pork roll there on one side of the picture, ready to eat food, depending on how you interpret it. We've got some raw meat there in the back on top of it, and, well, I guess somebody's not having a Diet Coke today. So again, giving him the follow-up information, but without the how and the why, is what really makes the difference. So as I finish up in my last minute, it's also always good to share a story about another generation. Again, it's not about the generation, I hope you'll see, but it's about the learning and the messages. KK is a college student. She's an animal care intern focusing on food prep. She is a kitchen novice. Like many colleges, she focuses on anything that can go in the microwave. She always washes her hands. She respects those signs in the restrooms, and she's the person that's going to remind somebody to wash their hands if they didn't. However, she feeds penguins, right? You see their fluffy noodles, and I think Melanie, I think it's the other one's name, and she makes popsicle treats over there with frozen fish and water. Finishes it up, feeds the penguins, and goes to eat lunch. Well, she was feeding ready-to-eat food to the penguins, right, and going to have her sandwich. Never even crossed her mind to wash her hands between the two. They were both ready to eat. So again, wash your hands, very effective message until it was a different application. And with that, a special thanks to KK and Pops, and I suggest to all of you, it's not about the generation differences, it's about the learning tools that we leverage. Thank you.
All right, we'll give each of our speakers 3 minutes to comment about each other's presentation.
I haven't even said a joke yet. I really, what I think I heard Kelly talk about was really to make the argument that the how and the why is common across generations. And I agree very much so that the how from instructional aspects is something that matters regardless of age, regardless of stage, and generation. But I do want to call out that the why and the engagement around the why, especially in the time of social media, where millennials are very much interacting and engaging online and trying to discover more things and have more access to information and more access to immediate response than ever before, and question things in a more anonymous way, that the why, in fact, is so much more important today with millennials than previous generations. And it really has to do with an expectation that the why will be answered and that the why will be provided. And that, to me, it has to do with the values and it has to do with the technology, but the more that we can engage our developing scientists and our new food safety professionals that are in the millennials about the whys of specific actions, the more successful we'll be, because they're very much asking about those whys. Thank you.
So back to the original question, should we change our approach to food safety management based on generational differences between the boomers and millennials? I think we both agree. We don't change our approach to food safety management, but we change our approach in communication, training, and awareness. That's all I got.